Good morning, everybody. Today, what I want to do is take a look at some practice questions from chapter 7 and 8. These will be questions from the test bank itself. I'm just going to randomly choose some questions. Who knows? You might see them on the chapter 7, chapter 8 quiz, or you may see them on the final exam. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Now I have the McGraw-Hill website on my end of things up here, and I also have the PowerPoints for chapter 7 and 8. There may be some questions that may refer to a map, and so I'll go ahead and bring that up if I can get to that quickly enough. All right, so let's take a look at some random questions. All right, question number 1. This is from political geography. Now, you have a number of questions in the test bank that ask about the different types of boundaries. Countries have borders, they may have boundaries demarcated on the land. So these borders and boundaries, so there's several terms that you would need to know for a quiz or an exam. All right, so let's see. So the first one, a no longer functioning boundary line that is still marked by some landscape features or differences on the two sides is what kind of boundary? Well, the answer is it's a relic boundary. It's a relic, meaning that the boundary is no longer there, but you can see evidence of it in the cultural landscape. One example of that might be Hadrian's Wall in northern England. See, the Roman Empire conquered the island of Britain, but they weren't able to conquer the Scots. And the Romans built a wall to protect them from the barbarian Scottish people to the north. Well, today the Scotland is part of the United Kingdom. There's not that boundary anymore, but you can still see Hadrian's Wall there. A lot of times, though, these relic boundaries can be seen in socioeconomic statistics. For example, when at the end of the Cold War, when West Germany and East Germany combined together to reunify Germany. If you looked at the cultural landscape, the land use was a lot worse on the East German side. The poverty rates were a lot worse on the East German side due to the communist government that they had in East German. The West German sides, the landscapes were a lot more prosperous. So even though that political border between East and West Germany wasn't there anymore, you could still see evidence of it in the cultural landscape. All right, let's see, another random question. All right, since World War II, coastal states have extended their seaward territorial claims to do what? Well, the answer is to control the exploitation of offshore fishing and mineral resources. Most countries today claim a 200-mile exclusive economic zone off of their country borders. All right, so that's another political one. Let's see what we get here. All right. Okay. This one, Singapore has become an important center for world shipping and commerce due to its what? Now, Singapore is just a little city state in southeastern Asia. It is in a very good relative location. A very large percentage of the world's shipping travels that corner around Singapore. So it's a good place. It's a entrepot. It's a place to import and export things. It's between the supply and the demand of world commodities, and so it's got very good relative location. You might remember from chapter 1 what absolute location was, where you are on some type of grid system, but that's not as important in the long run as the relative location. Okay, let's see what else we have here. According to the law of the sea convention, within its exclusive economic zone, state or country will have exclusive rights to fish and to extract minerals, right? It's your exclusive economic zone. The law of the sea says that a country's political border may only go 12 miles out, but a country has first say over who gets to fish and mine and so forth 200 miles out. It's called an exclusive economic zone. You may see a test question about EEZs or exclusive economic zones. All right, let's take another random question here. All right, let's see. The dissolution of European empires in this century, which century are we talking about, is noteworthy for all of the following reasons except what? Okay, it's noteworthy except. So that means the other ones are true. The dissolution of European empires, speed with which empires dissolved after World War II. That's certainly true. A lot of decolonialization, independence at that time. The fact that former colonies have become independent states, that happened. The fact that former colonies covered large parts of the globe, that's true. A country like Great Britain controlled a quarter of the Earth's surface at one time. And if you also look at the holdings of France, the Netherlands also had large portions of the Earth's surface. All right, so the dissolution of European empires in the century is noteworthy, except that the European powers relinquished their control peacefully. No, they didn't do so as peacefully. For example, France did not want to let go of its colonial possessions in French Indochina, which gave rise to the Vietnam War, which is a whole other story. All right, this one. The primary objective of local zoning ordinances in municipalities is to do what? The primary objective of local zoning is to allow citizen participation in deciding how land may be used. Well, here's a good example of a question that I very rarely ask on my examination, the percentage type question. And for me, a percentage type question has to have widely variable answers. These are all pretty close. Scientists estimate the Arctic seabed might contain this much of the world's undiscovered oil, gas, and minerals. Well, maybe a quarter. See, the way they should have asked it, they should have asked it where the one answer is 5 or 10%, meaning hardly any, and then another one is three-quarters of it, most of it. But the and this changes over time too as more discoveries are made. What about 25%? Yeah, there's a scramble for the Arctic resources because what with climate change, global warming, a lot more of the Arctic Ocean is ice free, and so those coastal areas, the continental shelves of the Arctic in northern Eurasia and also off the coast of Canada, there's a scramble to see who can acquire those resources. Okay. All right, let's see. This is another political geography question. Forces which promote unity and stability in a country are referred to as what? Well, it's centripetal forces. And those are the ties that bind, the forces that unite. You can think of of an ice skater spinning around, pulling her arms in. She's speeding up, and that's a centripetal force. What's the other one? Centrifugal force. That's destabilizing. Okay, that wants to spin you out. All right, and so the answer is centripetal forces. All right. Which of the following is an extreme manifestation of these centrifugal forces within a country? Well, when it gets to the point of civil war, that's that's the most divisive. You can have nationalism going on. You can have a famine that'll exacerbate things. But when it comes to civil war, that's centrifugal forces. All right, number 10. The western portion of the boundary between the United States and Canada is classified as what kind of boundary? It's an artificial boundary. If you look at a map of the North America with the United States and Canada, most of the border is along the 49th parallel. And so it was just agreed upon that that's the boundary. So it's not a mountain range or a water body or a river or something like that. So it's completely arbitrary. It's a line on a map. It's an artificial boundary. Okay. All right. Now back to a chapter 7 question. Innovation, the generation of new ideas and methods occurs most often in what? And the best answer there is densely populated urban centers. One of the good things about cities is that there's the intersection and interaction of many different things, new ideas, somebody improves on things. And so these occur in the urban centers. Innovation. All right, let's see if we can get another one here. All right, the original nucleus of a state or country that contains the capital city, an area of densest population, is called the core area. All right, abandoned castles dotting the former frontier zone between Wales and England are an example of a relic boundary. That's a term we already looked at, but these questions are coming at you randomly. So you may have two questions that are very similar that you randomly pull on the next quiz or the comprehensive final exam. All right, let's see. This is the best question that we've looked at in this review so far because you need to know this. Even 10 years after you graduate college, you should still know this uh, answer. The process by which a concept, practice, or substance spreads from its point of origin to new territories, that's diffusion. Okay, spatial diffusion, the movement over space. All right, so that's a good geography question. Somehow or another, I'm going to have to put that on the comprehensive final. A question about diffusion. All right, the Mississippi River is an example of what kind of boundary? Between the state of Mississippi and the state of Louisiana, you have the Mississippi River. Well, it's a natural boundary. Rivers give rise to being natural boundaries overall. In this case, natural. All right, let's take a look at another one. Okay, how about this one? The term used to describe differences between our cognition of distance and real distance is psychological distance. And then if you're going to go on a trip and you're trying to think, well, how long is it going to take me to drive there? It might be that it seems like it takes you less time to get there because you're driving along, you're excited about the trip, you're thinking about all the things you're going to do and so forth, and it doesn't seem like it takes you all that long to get there. But then the trip back, well, you've done everything. You've spent all your money. You have a lot to do when you get home, and so it's a dull, boring ride back. If that was the case, there's no change in the linear distance, but there is in the psychological distance. Or if you think it's too far to go, then you won't do it. All right, the answer there is psychological distance. That's a Chapter 7 question. All right, this is another political geography question. One of the most powerful of the centripetal forces, uniting forces, based on the concept of allegiance to a single country and the ideals and way of life it represents, is known as nationalism. All right, let's see. Nazi Germany and Stalinist Russia are examples of what type of 20th century terrorism? Well, it's state terrorism. Can you think of a more modern example of state terrorism? A country like Iran that actively uh, finances terrorist groups to attack other countries. That's an example of state terrorism. All right, but yeah, Nazi Germany and Stalinist Russia, yeah, I suppose so. All right, let me see. About 19. Which world region has the largest number of countries with women occupying more than 25% of the country's legislative seats? Well, not so much in Africa, not so much in Latin America. Asia is a pretty big continent. What do you mean, South Asia, East Asia? Well, the best answer there is Europe. So there are quite a few women representatives in the various legislatures, parliaments within Europe. The best answer there. I'm almost afraid to click on the next question. I'm hoping to get a good question here. Remember, these are just random, so you may see these on the quiz or on the comprehensive final. All right, so one more. All right, about migration. The migration of retirees to Florida and Arizona. Well, it's an example of channelized flows because the stream gets started and that uh, many people uh, start moving to South Florida for retirement, and then their friends and neighbors they also take that same path and they know each other, and so it becomes like a river channel. It flows and so you have that migration of retirees to Florida and Arizona. Well, I have to be honest with you, I'm disappointed by the 20 random questions that I got. Perhaps we'll have to try this again. I didn't see too many of the ones that I almost always ask on the final, but we'll see what we can do probably next time. All right, I'm going to end up at this point, and I will see you later.